Hi everyone, this is Tanya from Flying Dog Studio. Thank you so much for joining me as we do a little loose painting with a couple of mediums that I've used on here before, but I'm going to use them together today, and I've used them together before. We have the Derwent Inktense and the Caran Neocolor IIs, and we have some bright colors because I'm going to do a bright piece. Let's take a look at the Inktense first. We have Poppy Red and Baked Earth, and these are blurry. I do apologize. That's why I'm telling you what they are. Sea Blue, and that is Sun Yellow. Green Apple, that was the one I held up first. And then we have Bark, and I think that's the only one you can actually see. We're going to use the Caran in just a minute, but first let's just take a look at the other things. We have the microfiber cloth, and then my brushes. This is from the Royal and Langnickel Zen series. They're size 8 round, and the two little blue handle brushes are from Winsor & Newton, a size 6 and a size 3 round. I like to keep all of these on hand just in case I need them. A cup of water, and let's get started. Now you can see I have already put tape around the edge of my watercolor paper, and I'll have all of these supplies listed below. The reason I put it around, that's just some washi tape. It keeps my paper flat. Yeah, I don't have it taped to a board. I'm not really certain about the science behind it, even though I hold a biology degree, but we're just going to go with it if it works. Now, this is a field of poppies, and I'm going to base it loosely on a reference piece that I got from Unsplash, and I'll put that link down below. If you don't know what Unsplash is, check it out. That's where I get my reference photos. I'm just going to use the Inktense to kind of block in the shapes and the colors, and I'm loosely basing it on that. I'm not putting everything in, and I'm kind of zeroing in to the area that I want to use of the photograph. And because it is kind of a loose piece, almost an Impressionism piece, if you will, I'm not worried about preciseness. I'm not worried about detail. At this point, I'm just wanting to block in color and shape. And you might say, well, you're doing it kind of light. Well, hang on. If you've never used the Inktense, once I put the water on, you're going to see that it's super bright. So all I'm doing now is I'm taking a look at my reference photo. I'm kind of blocking in the colors. I'm going to layer the colors with the Inktense to get the base color that I need to put the Caran on top. We're going to finish with the Caran because I wanted to have more of a painterly look and less of a pencil or watercolor look. And the Caran will do that for me. So I'm going to let you watch me work, and I'm going to hop back on in just a second, and we're going to talk some more. Just a little more coloring here if I can get my pencil going the correct way, and we will be finished with laying down our base colors. Now you'll notice in my palette I did not have black. I am thinking more like the Impressionism painter, and I'm not going to have black in my palette. I'm going to use other colors to try to get those darks on the piece. So for instance, that tree line in the background, I've used bark, and bark is going to be a good base for me to build other colors on top and get those darks without actually using black. Now, I have picked up the Roland Langnickel Zen Series brush. And if you've watched me before, you know that I like this one because it holds more water than the Winsor & Newton brushes. And at this point, I'm just wanting to work all of this together. And you can see my tree line as kind of bleeding out into the sky, and it really will on this part. That's okay. I don't mind. Number one, that's all blurry back there anyway. And number two, we're going to come back with a Caran on top. So it's all going to change just a little bit in the end. But this allows me to kind of fuzz and blur all the background out without having those sharp edges. If I just do the wet and allow it, just to, using a lot of water, just allowing it to kind of all blend together. And didn't I tell you this was going to be super bright with those ink tints? And I see some areas that I wanted to add a little bit more of, I believe that's baked earth I'm adding on top there. It needed to be just a little more brown and a little less yellow. So you can color on top, but when you do that, be careful, because if you're coloring on top of wet paper with a pencil, you do run the risk of compromising your paper. So you just have to do that with a little bit of caution. So we're going to go ahead and activate the rest of this color. And notice I'm being very careful around those red flowers. I do want them to kind of blend in with the background. Again, all of this is kind of fuzzed out, but I don't want to just blend it in with everything. So I'm going to be very careful about the order that I do stuff. I'm rinsing my brush between applications of water on here when I go to a different area of color. And see, there you go. Now we keep that red separate, but yet it's allowed to kind of blend in with the background. So that's the process here. And when we pick up the Neocolor IIs, this will have had a chance to dry. So when I'll talk to you again here in just a second, all of this will be dry, and we're going to start working with the Neocolor IIs. All of our color is almost completely activated, just touching up a few spots. And then I don't actually let this dry. I make this dry with a hair dryer. But take a look at this, guys. It's barely warped. It's not like if you were just to take a piece of paper, watercolor paper, and put water on it. That tape, I'm telling you, it has a little magic to it. So let's take a look at our Caran. We are going to start with some light olive. This is ochre. And then we have some Prussian blue. I love that blue, by the way. And then white. I actually remember to pick up my white. And there's some umber. And this is dark olive. And colors I don't normally use, vermilion and scarlet. And both of those are wonderful for the poppies in the field. So the sky was super blue from the Inktense, and it actually had quite a few clouds. It's like one of those skies that's sort of hazy. It's blue, but yes, it has a lot of white with the clouds in it. So I'm coming back and putting the white on top of that. But that blue is going to show through, and it's going to give me the shade I need on that sky. And you can see the areas where it bled outside of that tree line into the sky. That white covered it up completely, and when we add the water again, it's gonna be fine. I'm using the dark colors on here. This is the umber on top of that bark from the Inktense, and again is giving me that wonderful background, that wonderful dark rich color without using black. So I'm basically going to allow that Inktense to be my main color, and I'm going to use the Neocolor IIs as accent color to kind of enhance what I need for I don't know what kind of grass this is. It kind of looks like wheat or maybe rye. And I'm sorry if you hear my dog whining at the door. He knows I'm recording. He loves to come and whine at the door when I start recording. I'm going to be working around all of these flowers. And again, I'm not worried about making things exact. I'm looking simply at what is light, what is dark, what is the shape, what is the color, and I'm adding things accordingly. And because it's more of an Impressionism piece, I'm not being careful about my coloring. I know I'm going to come back and put water on top, and that's going to blend things together. So the object of the whole thing is just to get the color and the shapes where we need them. And there was a lot of white in this area. I'm not certain exactly what that was about. If it was reflection, I'm not sure if it was something white in the field, but there was a lot of light. And if you check out the reference photo, you'll see what I'm talking about on there. So this is our first layer of Caran. I'm going to be quiet, let you watch me work, and then you'll see that I will come back with the brush and do the same process as I did with the Inktense, and we're going to activate all of these colors, making certain that I rinse my brush, I tap it when I need to get excess water off if I don't want too much water. And if you see a blue handled brush, that means I don't want a lot of water at all. But we are going to start with the sky with that dark handle brush from the Roll and Langnickel Zen series, and that has a little more water from my sky, and I'm going to move in circular motions, activating everything to kind of work it all together. I'm going to be quiet so you can have a little musical interlude and you can watch me paint, and I'll hop back on in a second. As you can see, we're almost finished activating this first layer of the Neocolor II, and you can still see some of my crayon marks on there. That's okay right now. We're going to come back with more layers. Now, at this point, the paper is dry. I made it dry. I didn't let it dry. And I'm coming back and trying to pull out and make a little more prominent those poppies. So I'm going to be layering down the colors on these. And the thing about the Neocolor IIs, which is very similar to the Inktense, as far as these brighter colors, you really have to be careful not to put down too much color at once, which I actually did on these. And you're going to see toward the end, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But some areas, I wanted it to be a little bit lighter to give a little more highlight on it. And so I had to pull some off with the water. But basically, we're doing the same thing here. I'm going to add a little more color around. Then we're going to activate one area at a time, and then we're going to come back and refine it at the end. For those of you who are new to the channel, thank you for hopping on. I am so happy that you are here. For those of you that are regulars, thank you for hopping on. Now, those of you that are regulars know that I always forget to pick up some color when I'm getting my palette together with these Neocolor IIs. This time was no different. So the color I forgot was actually this one, which is the golden yellow. So that was not in the previous colors that I showed you up front, and I wanted to mention that. I had to bring out the golden yellow because I forgot that one. So back to the coloring. I told you that red would be very bright. Now everything's activated and I have not let this dry. I'm coming back in on purpose and adding that Prussian blue because I want it to go ahead and bleed out into that red if possible. Now this is paper I'm working on and the water is absorbing fairly quickly. If I were working on canvas, which I do sometimes, then this would have bled out into the other colors, but it didn't on this. So I'm having to come back and make sure it activates out a little bit. I don't want it to go too far. I'm not interested in that, just a little ways out. So as we activate this and I've finished getting all of those centers activated, I'm going to come back and work some areas, kind of tidy it up around, make certain that the flowers do not have a hard edge because all of this was very out of focus in the picture. These were closer to the camera and so they are larger. That's why they're super large. Again, I didn't put everything in, just the parts that I wanted. I am going through on this area, making certain you don't see a lot of my crayon marks because again, I want it to be more painterly and less like a crayon or a pencil mark on there. At this point, the paper is dry, of course, and I'm coming back with our final coloring pass. And I'm wanting to be a little tighter with my coloring. I'm wanting to be a little more precise. Again, not too precise because this is an impressionist piece, but I want to zero in on where the colors are and not just have large areas of color. I want to tighten it up just a bit. So that's what you're seeing here. There was more white in the picture than what I anticipated. So as you can see, I went back even towards that background. From the foreground to the mid and headed toward the back in that field, I've added some white and I've changed my coloring. I've actually made it go horizontal back there because my brush marks are going to show that, because I do want that to be a little more horizontal so that we can have that painterly look back there. And it's going to flatten that field out. It's going to push it to the back. I'm going around the flowers and making certain that all of those are blurred around the edges, and I'm allowing that white to help me out. I'm bringing it into those poppies. So we're going to keep activating these colors and evening everything out, smoothing it out, and giving it an impressionism look. And this is the area I was talking about, lifting up some of the color around the edge of those flowers and making it a little bit lighter. I wanted to add some more highlights into that. And the best way to do it is just to lift some color. We already have that color down. It's already on the paper. It's not going anywhere, but we can lift a little and that will give us a little transparency and add for some more highlights. So few more touch-ups and this piece will be finished. If you have joined me for the first time again today, I thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here. And for those of you that stop by often or every now and then, you know I'm so happy when you come. If you have any questions or comments, put those down below. If you have something you'll want me to do, let me know, because one of you suggested that I do another piece where I add the Inktense and the Caran together. So here we are. I hope you're watching because I did this especially for you. So let me know if there's something you'd like for me to do. I have some more pieces coming up. I have a piece that's based on Beatrix Potter that I'm working on right now. I hope you'll join me for that. I have some other things in my journals that I'm going to be working on as well. My Wonder Journal and my Experiment Journal. I hope you join me for those things. But until then, my friends, I will see you in the next one.